What's going on? I'm here with UFC middleweight Gerald Meerschaert. He is fighting Joe Pyfer this Saturday at UFC 287. So what stands out to me when I look at this fight is the massive experience advantage you have. It's going to be your 18th UFC fight, I believe, compared to his second. How do you think that's going to impact the fight?
I don't know. Some guys come in, they start on a hot streak right away, and it doesn't really affect them. But it for sure helps me. I've been in there a lot, so it's not going to be a big culture shock for me. I think I do really well in front of big crowds, so I can't say it'll hurt him, but I know it's definitely an advantage for
Yeah, so you've won four of your last five fights. If you look at your UFC career, definitely the best stretch of your career. So as you've had more and more fights. What do you think has changed for you, or has anything changed for you to put you on this win streak?
me. I think mentally I'm in a much better place. I'm kind of getting out of my own way and getting out of my own head. I'm just kind of not trying to overanalyze or overthink anything, just kind of go out there and let my skills speak for themselves. I think sometimes in the past I may have gotten too one track minded as to like what the path to victory was. And, I have a lot more tools than I've still even shown in my, UFC career. And I keep showing more and more of those, like more striking and stuff like that. But I think just letting myself go out there and just just kind of assess the situation as it stands by itself, and then going from there has really worked out well.
So, what do you think were some of the mental drawbacks that kind of held you back earlier in your career?
Like I said, I think just looking at a matchup and thinking that I had to win a specific way, forcing myself to like grapple when maybe it would have been better to strike. And like obviously my grappling's pretty good, but there's definitely times where it would be easier to grapple if you punch him in the face a few times first. So, kind of getting out of my own way in that sense and being like, hey, even though I'm quote unquote the grappler, like I'm still really good at striking and I can still stand in there with the best of them. So, why not use all my skills?
Absolutely. So your opponent, Joe Pyfer, he came into the UFC with a lot of hype after his Contender Series win. Dana White had the infamous quote, "Be Joe Pyfer." So how did this fight come about? Was it a guy who you saw that and you said right away, "I want to fight this guy," or they just offered it to you and you jumped at it? How did it? How familiar were you with him, and was it a guy you were kind of eyeing up?
Actually, I was supposed to fight somebody else, and Pyfer must have needed a fight too because he DM'd me. He was really nice, very respectful. We had a good little conversation, but basically he was like, "Hey, I need an opponent. I see your guy backed out or dropped out, but he didn't back out. But there were some complications there." So he was like, nothing but respect. I'd love the chance to fight you if you need a dance partner. And I said yes. We both told our respective managers, and it ended up working out.
That is a wild way for a fight to come about. In your storied career, have you ever had a fight materialize that way where a fighter just hits you up and said, "Hey, let's do it"?
Um, Not where it's worked out. His teammate Petrosky actually hit me up before, and I said yes, but every time we just kind of seem to be on different schedules for better or worse. Like he'd call me out and I already have a fight schedule, and I'd be like, "Hey, I'll fight you, but just so you know, I got this other thing lined up first." And then he would get a fight scheduled, and it would like we'd be kind of just a couple months off of like the other one being available. So, but this time, obviously, we both needed an opponent. It worked.
Yeah, it worked out great. So you are a slight underdog in this fight. I believe the line is plus 160 right about now. Is that something you look into at all? Is it a position you're comfortable being in?
I didn't look into it at all. I didn't. Honestly thought it would probably be bigger. Like usually I'm like a super big underdog, but maybe people are kind of catching on that maybe I shouldn't always be so high on the plus money. But I don't really pay much attention to it. And like I said, probably all but maybe two or three of my UFC fights I've been the underdog anyway, so it's nothing new for me.
Yeah, I mean, on the betting side of things, you've definitely made a lot of people a lot of money with some of the
Yeah.
underdog tickets you've cashed. But you are at, is this your first fight at Killcliff?
Second fight, my last fight, I did my training camp here as well. Yeah.
So how have they impacted your training camps?
It's been great. There's been a lot of good coaches, a lot of guys my size at a very high level. and it's just something that's the weather's beautiful. Everyone's got a great attitude. It's a good culture there, and I'm happy to be part of the team. And so far it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, that it has. So, like we said, you're on 4 of 5. You've won. Now you're fighting a guy with a lot of hype behind his name as an underdog. I would argue, this is one of the bigger fights of your storied career. So, what do you think a win here does for you?
I'm not really sure. He's new, but he's still got a lot of hype, like you've been saying. I think if I win in dominant, well, when I win in dominant fashion, I think that if it doesn't give me a crack at the top 15, I think it's one more fight until I get, a step up. But honestly, man, checks cash the same no matter who I'm fighting. Everybody in the UFC is tough. Really, it's at this point, I know I'm not next in line for the belt. And unless I was, then I'd be calling for that, right? But otherwise, it's like pretty much if you just keep winning, you'll get your shot. So right now, my only job is to first focus on Joe Pyfer, and then just whoever they give me, they give me.
Yeah, I mean, definitely have Joe Pyfer is not a guy to look past, and a guy like you is not someone to overlook their opponent. So thank you for the time today. Last question we got to ask: you are fighting Joe Pyfer, UFC 287. What is your prediction for this fight? How's it going to go down?
If I had to make a guess, I'd go second round submission.
Heard it here. All right, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks, man.
Have a good one.